It is Podhalla time, and it is time to announce that we're changing up how we do this show. If you remember back to the Valks Valley days, Valks Valley was a clip that we'd put at the end of the Death Lineup, which is our Warriors podcast. And then last year we had such a blast with the Valkyrie season. And then Brian came up with a new name for the show, Podhalla, which is an excellent name. And we tried to do this thing where we wanted to record the Warriors podcast and the Valkyries podcast in the same podcast, just mostly for our schedules. And then on YouTube, we would split up the clips and such. But as the audio version, we just put it up as something that we called Golden State Hoop. I still like that name, by the way. But what we're going to do now is we're going to bring Podhalla into its own podcast. So what are we going to do with the Death Lineup? For now, the Death Lineup is going to be on ice a little bit. We're going to record stuff for YouTube about the Warriors under the Death Lineup banner, but we're not going to put out a consistent audio version of the Death Lineup. Podhalla, we will try and record consistently, more than likely now on Tuesday for Wednesday rather than Thursday for Friday, which was our previous schedule. And we're just going to see how it goes. I think there's opportunity for us in this space with women's basketball to really highlight this podcast and grow this podcast. Whereas, there's a lot of Warriors podcasts out there. And if the Warriors aren't really your focus of everything, I think you can kind of get lost in the shuffle. But we may bring the Death Lineup back at some points. If the Warriors actually do make the playoffs, if Steph, they're going to make the playoffs. But if they win the play-in, and they make it to the actual playoffs, Steph comes back, they get on a heater, we could definitely bring back some Death Lineup episodes in this feed. But we're going to focus on Podhalla for this feed consistently and weekly, which tells you that we got a little bit of confidence in the WNBA negotiations. And so that's kind of what we're going to do. So you'll see this podcast, you'll see it up Wednesday, for the most case, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. And we're just going to roll with Podhalla as much as we can. So where are you? How are you feeling? Like, 1 to 10, whereas, maybe a few weeks ago, we were kind of under 5 as far as how we were feeling about the negotiations between the players and the owners. Do you feel more optimistic? Are you closer to like a 6 as far as they're going to get this thing done sooner than later and we're not going to miss any games? Or are you still a little pessimistic about where they sit with this current CBA negotiation?
I feel like it's been a while since we recorded and a lot of things have happened, including the letter that was leaked from Breanna Stewart and Kelsey Plum. Like, we haven't recorded since before that happened. And then there was a deadline of March 10th that they had to, agree to a CBA negotiation by March 10th in order to avoid missed season time. Of course, it's March 17th now, and we still don't have an agreement. But since it was about like March 9th or March 10th is when they all kind of met up in New York, all being like some of the WNBAPA, and then people from the WNBA, like Kathy and other people. They're all like in some like hotel conference room, right? And they're just like hammering out these like negotiations. It's doing like a marathon negotiation since like March 9th or 10th. And it sounds like it's like 8-hour days. And so with that being said, like, I feel confident. I'd say, in that 6 to 8 range of confidence that within the next week and a half, like, we'll have something. And if we don't have something within the next week and a half to 2 weeks, confidence probably plummets to 0, man. Like, how do you not? If it's going to be 8-hour days for 3 to 4 weeks straight, and you don't have anything agreed to, so I feel pretty confident that within the next week and a half we'll have something, and that might even be generous. Like, it could be within the next couple of days, could be within the next week. I don't know if you've seen any reports of what they're talking about lately, but it sounds like housing and just the rev share stuff is of focus. I personally feel like I don't know how housing is a topic. Like, I just feel like it shouldn't be negotiated. I feel like if housing's not included, the players that want to play for the Valkyries have plummeted because a lot of your salary is going to, and I'm sure maybe it could be a team choice and if they want to provide it or not. I'd expect the Valkyries probably to provide it just because it's so expensive to live here.
I mean,
Yeah,
Joe's got to have a bunch of properties out near San Francisco that he could just rent out for cheap, right? Come on, Joe.
surely.
Okay, so the last thing that I saw was Monday. Sorry, Monday. This is Tuesday as of we're recording. And Alexa Philippou, who's been bunkered down with some of the other journalists at where these negotiations are in Manhattan, and she she posted on Blue Sky. WNBPA Executive Director Terry Jackson confirmed progress is being made toward a CBA, but a delay to the 2026 season cannot be ruled out as WNBA labor talks stretch into the 7th day here in Midtown Manhattan. Now, I haven't seen anything since that Blue Sky post, so I don't know if they're still out there right as we are recording or not, but whatever these deadlines are, which are not really deadlines because they can just keep missing them, but it looks like they created an urgency for both sides to get together. Now, the housing thing may or may not still be a big part of this, but the idea that the rev share is still that far apart, when it breaks down to it, I think the players are still asking in the mid-20s range for their rev share of the whole pie. And I think the league is still in the high teens, mid to high teens. And so that part of it, it looks like if the league just got a little bit closer to that 20%, we'd probably be done here. But they are still, they're not budging. If you remember where the players started, I think the players started at like 40, and then they've come all the way down.
We knew that was falling. We knew that.
Well, yeah, we knew. Oh, yeah, we've been saying that. That's where you start. That's why it's a negotiation. You start high and you come down. And the league, though, has not come up nearly as much as the players have come down. But this is the most news that we've heard about this negotiation, and I think there were something like 8 proposals of some sort a couple of days ago. Maybe it was last week, where they're just back and forth, proposal. Now we haven't heard anything since then, and that may mean that, you know, they're close. It may mean that they're not close, but that is where we sit with this. And, you know, there's so much momentum coming out of last season for this season, the 30th year, that you would think, cooler heads prevailing, smarter heads prevailing, that this is like a must-have. But there's been stupider things that have happened in the past. Baseball went on strike and missed a World Series. I think hockey missed an entire year of play because they couldn't figure it out. Basketball has missed many months of play. One year they started at Christmas as opening day. So cooler heads, you would think, smarter heads, but oftentimes it's like they're just locked in on what they're locked in on. So that is where we stand as of right now. And I believe, and you know, some of this might just be because we just got done watching the USA and Spain play in this is the precursor qualifying thing for the Olympics, right? Like the USA's already qualified for the Olympics, but they still have to play in these tournaments.
I never get how that works. If it's like for FIBA, it might be for FIBA qualifying for the FIBA tournament, which then is like a qualifier for the Olympics, right? Like there's all these, like, what is Eurobasket then? Does Eurobasket get you to the qualifiers? The qualifiers get you to FIBA. FIBA gets you to the Olympics? No clue.
Yeah. Whatever it is, that coming off of Unrivaled and then having this little tournament, even though the USA is killing all these teams, the Spain game was sort of competitive. You know, you're kind of whetting the appetite, going like, oh man, I cannot wait. So maybe in the overall strategy of this, if they do sign the deal, maybe this is really good momentum. Maybe they're just continuing to build, because we had Unrivaled, which I thought was excellent. I watched every single game of my Mist with Veronica Burton and Brianna Stewart and Alicia Gray. who else was on that squad? Arike,
Riku.
who
Lee
kind of
Rue.
got in a little bit of a scrap there after the
I
championship after
heard,
they
man.
won. But that was so much fun just to see how hard those women were playing. And I think for Brianna, it was like, okay, last year I was not 100%. This year I am. Now it's time for me to flex a little bit. And she was great. It was just fun to watch them play. And coming out of Unrivaled, I have two takes. One of these takes is Valkyries related. Veronica Burton's gonna have a really good year.
Yeah.
She fit in so well with the upper echelon of the Unrivaled League, and like didn't skip a beat. Like was not overwhelmed in any of this. Played awesome. Even played really good in that one-on-one tournament. And my second take, I think Kelsey Plum's going to be MVP level this year.
Whoa.
She was cooking in Unrivaled, and she's playing in this FIBA thing. She's playing on the second team with Paige and Caitlin. The three of them together are just ridiculous. Like unbelievable passing ability to get their own shots. Like when they were on the court together, it was awesome. So that's my take. Is the problem is I don't know if the Sparks are going to be good enough for her to kind of be in that mix, but I think she's going to have like a coming out party kind of season.
Who says she resigns with the Sparks?
Well,
you'd think because they maybe traded all of her, but she's
and that looked like it was her team, right? It was like, okay, we need to build around me. Yeah. Remember that first game against
she
the Valkyries,
like 37.
Yeah, it was like unstoppable.
Yeah.
So I do like that those were couple things coming out of that tournament, but all right, so let's move on here. Let's talk about a little bit more about this Team USA thing. How were you watching? Like, was there anything specifically that you were watching these games for? Was it just to see basketball? Like, because for me, I was like, I kind of want to see Caitlin. I want to see Paige. I want to see how they look together because they specifically were playing them together. But these games weren't very competitive, so it was kind of hard to figure out what was what. But it's just fun to see Caitlin back on the court again.
Yeah, I think I might be lagging a little bit. I was trying to load the women's March Madness bracket, and then that just took over all my service. But I was kind of watching just to see professional women's basketball again. I know Unrivaled's happening, but 3-on-3 is just different from 5-on-5. When you watch college for so long, you just forget how good the pros are. So I just wanted to see the pros hoop again, really. Like, of course, seeing like the Paige, Angel, Caitlin rotation is fun and exciting, but I just wanted to see pros hoop again. And I especially was watching this game. It's been one that I've been talking about, at least in our Discord, of like, Awa Fam, number 1 projected pick, number 1 or 2. Iana Martin, first round projection from Conrado and many other draft analysts. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to watch them play, and I'd watched that Spanish team play in Eurobasket, but that USA is a different competition than anything they see in Eurobasket. Play against like all of everyone's pros. So
yeah, and these two teams were probably the two highest level teams, and
France.
That. I actually didn't see France play, but they battled in the first half, and it was a really close game for most of the first half. In the second half, USA pulled away a little bit. But I think who's the woman who was it Gustafson had like the first 7 points of the game or something for Spain?
I didn't even realize she was Spanish. I thought Gustafson sounds like German. I have no clue what Gustafson sounds like. I didn't realize she was Spanish though. But yeah, Gustafson was cooking early. Is it Raquel Carrera? I believe she's drafted by someone, but she's just never come over before. She's only 24, so you'd think that might happen soon. And that'd be fun with all these, players who just haven't come over yet. And here comes the new CBA and all the good international players who haven't come over. Like, okay, yeah, sure. We'll head over. I think Raquel Carrera might be one of them.
Just seeing those teams play, it was not like okay, I have my fix. I'm ready to move on. But it was like, again, it was like that momentum, like that whetting the appetite. Like, okay, we're getting close. We're getting, we should be talking, draft at this point. We should be talking expansion draft. Like that should be in our rear view. But now we're waiting for the negotiations and stuff to happen. All right, how much women's college hoop have you been watching?
It's been a little on and off. Man, this NCAA website is just taking all of my Wi-Fi.
You have a phone. You should put it up on your phone.
True. I should just look it up on my phone. But it's been an off and on experience of watching for me. Like I just really try to watch the marquee games, and I think the last thing I was watching was LSU versus, I want to say, South Carolina. Like I didn't even get to see South Carolina versus Texas for the SEC championship game, but I was watching LSU versus South Carolina, interesting teams, and I'll watch an Ohio State game, I'll watch an Ole Miss game here and there, like kind of more so the teams that have draft prospects is maybe who I'm tapping into more than the teams that don't have immediate draft prospects.
So if we were to look at this bracket and we put out a clip, so it's got to be last month already. People are fired up about the idea of who can beat UConn, and I think we posed like, everyone's sort of going for second place, but if an upset happens, what is the team that could actually beat UConn? And, some people said UCLA, there was a South Carolina in there, maybe even been a Texas. I don't remember, but I feel like this tournament, like the last 2 or 3 years, it felt like the tournament was slightly more up for grabs. Maybe not last year. Yeah, I think most of us had UConn winning. But this year, it's almost like it's UConn versus the field. If you had to bet, would you bet the field or would you bet UConn? And I think I would bet UConn.
I would bet UConn too.
Yeah,
I feel so silly for not betting them last year, and so I just feel like I can't turn my back on them, especially when I don't feel confident, like insanely confident about any other team. At least last year, I was like, there's some interesting players, some interesting freshmen on South Carolina. Like they have scores, like they could figure it out. But this year, I'm less confident. Clearly, by South Carolina, like UCLA has just continued to prove to me that they're just gonna lose when it gets closer to like the bigger games. And then Texas, I know Texas has lost some games that are a little head scratching for me for being like a top team. So UConn. Have they lost? I don't think they've lost.
Nope.
Yeah, 34-0.
Not only have they not lost, I don't think they've been even within 10 points, have they?
No clue. I have really not tapped into them as much as I should have, but because I know Sarah Strong's incredible. I know AZ's. I was just like, there's just no. They're in a week-old conference too. Like there hasn't been many. I think I've watched like 1 or 2 of their games. Like I remember there was an early UCLA, or was it a Notre Dame game that I watched? But yeah, no, they're too good, and the teams they've played, they're in like a weaker conference too. So what, the Big Sky? I don't even know who's in that thing.
Yeah, and that's one of the claims about if you were looking at overall seeding, and people were kind of clamoring for UCLA to possibly be the number 1 seed because they're 12-1 against top 25 teams, and UConn has only played 5 games against top 25 teams. So that was kind of the theory about whether or not UConn is actually the number 1 seed. But, UCLA has had an excellent season to show you how overpowering UConn has been. UCLA is 31-1, 18-0 in the conference, 12-1 against top 25s. And nobody is talking about them as if they have a chance at all, which is insane, right?
And again, we've said this before. They have like 7 players who are going to get drafted at the WNBA like this year. Like 5 to 6 of them. It's insane. And still, I'm just like, I don't trust it. I want to. UConn's just the easiest pick. Like, even I remember the game they lost too. It was during that players tournament when we were in Tucson for Thanksgiving, and they played in Vegas against Texas, and then they lost, and Texas went on to beat South Carolina or lose to South Carolina. But it was just like a oh, I thought you guys were better than that, and I don't really remember the final score, but yeah, it's crazy. They have Kiki getting drafted, Gianna getting drafted, Gabriella getting drafted, Lauren getting drafted, Charlize probably getting drafted, Dugalich probably getting drafted, and it's just like, yeah, not give me UConn. Like Sarah Strong's better than all you guys.
Texas, South Carolina also have 3 losses. LSU has 5 losses. Vandy has 4 losses. So it's like you have this power 2. And, you know, when you get down to this level, like theoretically, let's say you get every single number 1 in the Final Four. Connecticut and UCLA would play, I think. Oh no, let me think about this. No, actually, they would play in the finals if they both won out. And I think that's kind of the game. Like if you're selling this tournament, that's the game everybody wants to see, right? UConn and UCLA. Not that I think a lot of people would give UCLA a great shot to win, but if there is a team who's got the star power, who's got the players, who's got the pedigree, someone we've seen for the last couple years in this tournament, Lauren Betts, Kiki Rice, those are very familiar names to college basketball fans. I feel like that's the game that you're hoping for to see. I don't think Texas or South Carolina has as many name players. Like if you're trying to say like who should you watch for, they don't have as many as those 2 teams. So, obviously they could all be in that spot, but that's kind of what you want is UCLA and Connecticut at the end of the day.
Yeah, and still give me UConn. I still don't trust UCLA. Like I remember last year, like I thought they were the clear and away number 1 seed to start the year. I thought they were going to basically just like kind of run through these teams, and they had a big problem with USC in like 2 games, and they end up losing to UConn, and probably was it the Final Four? I think they got to the Final Four and just lost to UConn last year. But I just remember like they were a team where I was like, holy crud, who's going to stop them? We went and saw them last year at the Invisalign Bay Area Women's Classic, and no Lauren Betts, but they still cooked their opponent. I don't think their opponent was anything special at all, but just I think it just feels like they haven't been able to get over that hump. And luckily for them, like last year they got to the Final Four, so this year all they need to do is get to the championship. I know that's a high ask, but just feels like they haven't been able to get over that hump. And I think the year before they lost to LSU. So I'm just trying to remember the history of them in the championship. But they have I've said it like 4 times on this podcast how many players that they're going to get drafted the WNBA. They are super talented and have a team that should have a good chance at winning it all. Yet I'm just like, Gino's been there countless times. AZ and Sarah have now got that under their belts and then know what it takes. And Sarah, another year of Sarah Strong is just like, she's just the best player, and she's going to be a generational talent. We already see it now. She can get drafted to the WNBA right now, probably go number 1 in this draft, easily go number 1 in this draft. So yeah.
So we have a bracket. Have you filled out your bracket? Have you even joined our bracket yet?
I have not.
You only have 1 more day. The thing starts on Thursday, right? Does it start on Thursday?
They probably won't. I mean, they're not going to. I forget if they penalize if you do it after first 4 or not, because it's first 4.
No, I don't think so. I don't think.
So I think it's Friday. It starts.
Oh, is it Friday? Okay, so we have until Friday.
Should we look at some of these tickets? They have.
I don't think
South
I can
Carolina plays. Well, not even just Friday, but South Carolina plays in Sacramento. UCLA plays in Sacramento. It's Fort Worth and Sacramento. Those are the 2 host cities until you get to like Final Four or something, or Sweet 16, or I forget what it is.
Yeah. It is tempting, but at the same time, I have a feeling the tickets are going to be an arm and a leg.
I know Marshall's going.
Is he going?
We know that's going. Mm-hmm.
What? Who would you want to see?
I'd love to see South Carolina, even if it's against the 16th seed. Just like get to see like Don Staley live coaching and just like how dominant that program's been since I've really had an interest in women's basketball. They've been like the most, them and UConn have just been like the most dominant programs. So I'd like to see them. But I have the bracket on my phone. I could see what other potential matchups would be fire.
Aaliyah Chavez is going to be in Sacramento, as is Jazzy.
Oh, come on. Yeah, we've already seen Jazzy. I don't need to see Jazzy again until she has more help.
Jazzy was fun though. Yeah, out of that tournament that we went to, the only two teams out of the foursome is Oregon and USC. The Bay Area teams didn't even make it.
Dude, yeah, they're in the NIT. I was like, that I don't get how, I guess I didn't look at the top 25 as we closed out the year, but isn't there 64 teams that make this March Madness tournament? You're telling me that Berkeley and Stanford weren't one of the best 64 teams? I don't know how it gets chosen, but they were in top 25 rankings when we went. Like at least Stanford was. I forget if Cal was, but they were like in and out. I'm surprised that they didn't make this thing.
I think when you get further down to like the 40s and such, then it's all about conferences, and you have all these conferences where you're taking the winners. So it gets a little convoluted, but they didn't play well enough in conference for sure. That's why you got to win that. You got to play better in that conference tournament, all that stuff. But yeah, so we'll by this time next week we'll know the what the Sweet 16 is already, because I think it goes.
Yeah, it looks like you can get South Carolina USC in game 2. I mean, it's just that South Carolina would run them, but Oklahoma, Michigan State could be a good one in round 2, assuming both teams move on.
Yeah, you should hook up with Marsh and see if you can get out there.
Right.
All right. One thing, and I'm just interested in your thoughts, and then I want to end with a special topic that I didn't mention to Brian. But if the CBA gets done tomorrow, what is the one thing you are most excited about hearing about, talking about, reading about, covering? Like, what's that first thing where you're like, oh man, I can't wait to read about X?
Jeez, I don't mean to think too hard about your question, but do you just mean like absolutely anything, or specifically something pertaining to the CBA?
Just to the start of the season, just to the process of how we're finally getting through the end of last season into the next season.
I mean, just the fact that we're about to have so many things. Like if you think about what happened last year before the Valkyries joined, it was a November or December expansion draft, a January free agency, and then we had until like April, until like the women's college draft, and then we had training camp in May, and it was just like you had so much space in between all these things. And assuming the CBA gets done, say next week, all this stuff's going to get smushed into like a month. So you have expansion draft, free agency, and the draft. And this free agency is like everyone's like on the table essentially, except for like young players. So like that alone to me is the most exciting thing. Just seeing how like, in like the Shams Woj prime days of like waiting for those notifications for the NBA in like 2020 or something, where everyone's moving around. Like it's going to be like this heightened, because this has got to get done quick. People got to, get to their new homes and settle in before the training camp starts. So it's going to be wild. And that's what I'm most looking forward to. But overall, just the, as a league, as a player, like I would feel very anxious about how the next couple of weeks are going to go. Even as a content creator for the WNBA, I'm a little anxious of like, okay, when this thing gets signed, I want to guess this day. I want to guess this day. I want to guess. I need to line up all these interviews and what we're going to talk about. And, it's all going to happen so fast. But strictly from like a fan perspective, like this is like Disneyland for like all these stuff, all these exciting, transactional stuff happening so close together. So yeah.
I'm definitely excited to see how free agency shakes out. Now, it may be a big nothing. Like part of the CBA, maybe coring is just as big of a part of it as it was before. But because the top level salaries are so high, I do wonder if some of the teams are going to be a little conservative, like right away. And then there are going to be other teams who don't really care about what the top level is. They're just like ready to go. And I have a feeling the Valkyries may be one of those teams who are like, hey man, like we know what the top level is. We understand the cap. We run the Warriors. Like, this is not that big of a deal. So I'm actually really interested to see if that shakes out. And again, it may be quite possible that not a lot of people move, but there's gonna be some, at least, because almost everyone's a free agent and everyone is looking at this. At least, the players who are involved in these negotiations, they're all looking at the idea of, we're gonna make so much more money this year than we did last year, and maybe you get to pick your spot, and maybe you can figure out, maybe we'll see some players team up who've been playing in Unrivaled, or who've been, playing in the FIBA stuff. So that's gonna be exciting. Okay, the last thing here. What is this? I haven't hit this button in a long time. Okay, that was our movie thing. We both saw Project Hail Mary, which doesn't even come out until this weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got a sneak preview.
Not a sneak preview. We just watched the whole thing.
No, but it's called a sneak preview.
Oh.
It's we got to see it before it actually came out. It's a sneak premiere, a sneak preview. So was it all that it was cracked up to be for you? You've had a couple of days to think about it now.
Yeah, I think I was being a little hard on it coming out of the theater, just because I read the book, and there's always like that, like, oh, book watchers can't enjoy the movie thing because they're too hypercritical of how accurate it was to the book. And I think, it was a huge success. I thought just like the way it looked was just like incredible. And, even though, like these planets that they're traveling to don't exist, you just feel like, wow, that looked really good. And I think Gosling does a good job, and
he's acting by himself for a lot of it, right?
Yeah, and don't get too. But I feel like for me, some of the stuff where I was like, when I was reading the book, I was like, I wonder how they're going to adapt this part. Mm-hmm. I think 80% of that stuff that I had that question about just like didn't get adapted. Like, that was their answer. Like, oh, we're just not going to do it. And I was like, okay. But I think from a fan perspective, an audience perspective, like it was. I just love seeing anything I can on that 70 millimeter IMAX screen, and I think that was a total payoff specifically for that movie.
Yeah, that screen I think made a big deal. Maybe if you see it on a normal screen, some of that stuff isn't as impressive because the visual.
There's a gimmick. There's a gimmick they do, right? There's a gimmick they do specifically for that screen, and I don't think this is spoiling. But if you feel like the big picture, if you feel like this is a spoiler, I guess turn it off right now. But they utilize the full 70 millimeter IMAX when it's in present day, and then they go or widescreen aspect ratio when it's like in the past. So they use like a gimmick for it, which I'm assuming if you just see it in a regular movie theater, it's just the whole time it's going to be the same aspect ratio. Mm-hmm. Because you don't have that 70 millimeter capability. But it was cool seeing it there because they actually were like, oh, if you see it in this format, like it's kind of a different viewing experience on top of they just did this thing where it was like, when it's in current day, we're using this aspect ratio. When it's in giving you flashbacks, it's in this aspect ratio.
Yeah, that is a big part of it, the sound. So if you have a theater that has a good sound system, there's a nice treat there for you. I didn't know what to expect at all. And, if you don't know anything about this movie, you will know a lot about it pretty soon because I think it's going to be a pretty big deal. But Ryan Gosling, there's it is adapted from a book, and this is Amazon's big. Amazon is kind of in and out of the movie business as far as like important films. They have the James Bond series, they have Creed, so they have some stuff, but you didn't really hear a lot about them last year, and I think this is going to be a big thing for them. So I hope it does well because I thought it was well done. I'm actually interested to see some of the fallout because I wonder, there's always like people are so excited and you're going to hear a lot of people talk good about it. And then there will be a little bit of fallout. So, some folks may, talk about certain things about it that they didn't like, but Yeah, so I want to see what that is. I want to see the real movie nerds kind of pick this thing apart. And because I mean, I know what I saw and I know what I liked and I know what I was like, that was kind of interesting. I don't know if I really, really got locked into some of the choices, but overall, like from an in theater experience, I would say go see it in the theater, and if possible, see it on IMAX. If you don't have an IMAX screen, maybe shoot for whatever the best sound system is that you can see it on. But I think it's going to be a far better in theater experience than at home experience. So definitely try and see it in the theater. All right, so that's it from here. Our first. This is like one of the first solo Podhallas that we've ever done. So I think we did a couple before, but this is going to be where we go from here on out, at least in the present time. So we'll be back next week talking about more. Hopefully we'll be able to talk about the actual start of the season. And if not, then we might actually be in some trouble. So, all right. That is it from here for Brian Double G. See you when we see you. Peace out.